just for you guys. We'll turn them back on. Hopefully we get through at least 3 more questions. The next question will first go to you, Brad. Steve Scheffler would like to know how hard you will work to push a federal constitutional amendment on marriage, and will you address the issue of the importance of marriage from time to time in your speeches?
Absolutely, I've demonstrated that. I know we've had conversations about that. I've co-sponsored legislation to allow all of you Iowans to vote on a constitutional amendment defining marriage between one man and one woman. I've got a record of doing that. Unfortunately, you have this person that sits here from Council Bluffs in the Iowa Senate that prohibits that. We've done a lot of procedural moves to try to give you the opportunity to vote on that, and from time to time, and I believe a marriage is between one man and one woman. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe.
Of course, Steve. I'll be your biggest fan. Right on this card. Marriage. One man, one woman. See, I'm not afraid to put all this out there. This is who I am. You should want to show what you believe in and what you're all about. It shouldn't be a disguise. You should step up to the plate. Believe in what you believe in. Show a little courage on who you are. Because the people on the other side, they play hardball. Joe Grandinet plays hardball. I will not waver. One man, one woman. Thank you.
Thank you. Matt?
Well, I don't believe this is an issue that should be determined by courts. I don't believe this is an issue that should be determined by Congress either. This is an issue that should be determined by the people. That's why I support a federal amendment. Because I believe that states should have the ability to vote. This is an important issue. And I believe marriage is between a man and a woman. And I believe that we need a federal amendment and finally put this to rest and let the people determine this issue. Because I believe the people agree with us that marriage is between a man and a woman. And so I support a federal amendment, and I support marriage. Thank you.
Thank you. Monty?
Yeah, I think you're going to find unanimous consent up here. Marriage is between one man and one woman. It's simple as that. It's not very complicated. But I also want to say that I'm not going to mislead you. I'm not going to say, vote for me and we'll pass that constitutional amendment in January. Because quite frankly, you got to get a supermajority, and even if we take back the Senate, that's probably not going to happen. So we're really going to have to fight this issue out state by state, at least in the short term, whether we want to or not. So I think we have to gear up for that battle. But understand, their agenda goes a lot further than this. Not too long ago, we were in Council Bluffs at a debate that Steve's group put on, and we were asked, what's the role of the federal government versus religious institutions? And I stood up and said something really, really crazy. I said that the federal government should not be allowed to force a religious institution to provide a good or service that runs counter to the tenets of its faith. Pull out your pocket constitution. I know a couple of you back there got them. Flip to Amendment number 1. And that's what the Constitution says. That's what I stood for. And the Democrat in this race, Stacey Apple, sent out an email to raise money attacking that. She is an ultra-liberal who doesn't even believe in the freedom of religion, which comes from God and is protected by our Constitution. That's what we're up against.
Thank you. David?
You know, we have the Domestic Marriage Act, which, first of all, our Attorney General didn't enforce at the time when it was law. And then our Supreme Court said, you know, this issue is pretty much relegated to the states. And in Iowa, it's legal, gay marriages, and I don't like the way it happened. I think it should be the voice of the people or by the state legislature. And I believe that marriage is between a man and a woman, and I'm not going to mislead anybody that this is going to be able to get done at the federal level, especially with Harry Reid as majority leader in the Senate, and with the ratio of the parties in Congress, and as long as we have this president in power. But when given the opportunity, I will support marriage between a man and a woman.
Thank you. Robert?
Yeah, I believe marriage is between a man and a woman, and as I described before, I've taken that stand publicly and willing to do that again. We'll do it in Washington. It's getting kind of scary when it used to be that, and I still believe most probably homosexual people still believe that they just want to be left alone, and they don't want us telling them what to do. And in this free country, and in the free religion of Christianity, God understood that. He gave us freedom of choice and let people choose to do wrong. But they're free to do that. But then that wasn't enough. Now they want us to change the definition of marriage, and I can't change the definition of marriage. I didn't make it in the first place, and so only our Creator can change the definition, and I don't think He's changing. The problem is now they don't want you to be in business if you don't celebrate their gay marriage. So that's where it's getting scary. And that's where we have to draw a line and say, no, I don't think tolerance is shutting us down, is bullying us into silence, is forcing CEOs to quit, is making businesses obsolete if they don't agree. Instead, let's find a win-win solution of how we can coexist. Thanks.
Thank you. We'll try to get 2 more questions in. Joe, you'll be first on this one. There's been a lot of talk lately about the gas tax. In a broader sense, what are your ideas on how we should fund our national infrastructure?
How should we fund our national infrastructure? That's a good question. How should we? That's out of control. Infrastructure. It's a state issue. The state has to be solid. We have to have enough money coming in to pay our bills. And you do that by increasing the jobs in your state, by having a state that's solvent, bringing industry into the state to pay our bills so that they pay more taxes so that we have more money to develop the infrastructure. To raise the gasoline tax on the common man is not the way to go. You and I, we drive back and forth to work every day and we pay more? Absolutely not. That's not how you do it. Thank you.
Thank you. Matt?
I don't support the gas tax either. I don't think the gas tax is going to be able to fund our roads long term anyway. You look at our cars, they're getting more and more fuel efficient. So there's less and less revenue. Look, infrastructure is one of the few things government should be doing. And so when we're looking at our priorities, we need to be looking at how we fund it and use general fund money to do it. And the gas tax is just not a sustainable way. And we've already proven that. And so we need to start making tough decisions. But how are those tough decisions made? Without a balanced budget amendment. Forcing Congress and forcing the President to make tough decisions. That's why I support a balanced budget amendment. So we can actually start prioritizing what we're going to do with the revenues of this government. And so I do not support the gas tax. Thank you.
Manu?
Well, I'm here today to ask your vote for Congress, so let's talk about the federal gas tax. I do not support increasing it. First of all, we send out $1, we get about 95 cents back, and then it comes with strings attached that make things really expensive. I've been with a county supervisor not too far from here looking at a bridge on a gravel road, that because it came with federal prevailing wage, that means union wages, it came with their environmental impact studies, it came with their design build specs, this bridge that looked like it belonged on an interstate, not a gravel road. It cost $2.4 million instead of about $700,000 or $800,000. So why don't we cut those strings and use the money we're already sending in there more efficiently and build 3 bridges instead of 1? But I will tell you, I do think there is a role for federal government here. We have an interstate system that was started by President Eisenhower for national security reasons. We have ports and locks and dams that for an agriculture and a manufacturing state are vital that cross state lines. Bring most of it back to the states, but there probably is a role for the federal government, but it's got to do it a lot smarter so that we don't waste money.
Thank you. David?
Our road system is obviously very important. It helps us get to work, so for commerce's sake, and to keep our economy going. But it's also, we need to make sure that we have a safe road system for safety, period, just to save lives. We're not hurting ourselves out there. And we need to take a look. Government does need to have a role, but is it so much weight upon the federal government? You know, we have the state gas tax and we have the federal gas tax. We collect the federal tax here and it goes to DC, and do we ever really see it all come back? I don't think so. So why can't we just keep it here in Iowa, where we know how to spend it best? And where it may overrun on road systems, let's use it in our waterways and on our levees. So I want to see the states empowered more, but I do think there is a role for government to get involved in, to make sure we have great roads. And I think the gas tax, it needs to be decided at the state level.
Thank you. Robert?
Yeah, as a contractor, I've had a front row seat of this infrastructure for the last 20 years. And I do believe that our infrastructure is one of the things that's made us a great economic superpower. And we have to fund it properly. However, the federal government has too much money of ours, and we don't want to give them any more. And I agree with some of these things that have been said. I agree with Joe that we need to, instead of having the federal government doing it, let's get it to the states. I agree with Monty that when it comes from the federal government, there are strings attached. My little nephew, who had maybe 2 years of college and dropped out, decided to be a laborer, was making $20 an hour here and working for us. I thought that was a pretty good wage. We went to Missouri on a prevailing wage job. We had to pay him $40 an hour. And then it was mandatory time and a half on Saturday, mandatory time and a half, double time on Sunday. So he's making like $60 an hour when they double the base and all that stuff. It's just crazy. So let's try to keep the money in the state, make it the most efficient, and let's find some win-win solutions with all this energy that we have. Let's see if we can find a win-win solution there, driving fuel prices down, and maybe a portion of that can be used for our infrastructure. Thanks.
Thank you. Brad?
Thank you. Let me be very clear. I will not support any new tax increases. The government takes too much money out of all of our pockets on a daily basis. But recognizing how important our infrastructure is, when I was mayor of Urbandale, we put in a brand new interchange on 8035 and reconstructed 2 other interchanges. Good roads brings jobs. It is a role of government to provide that transportation. In the Iowa Senate, I have a bill that says that 1% of all the revenues come out and put into the road use tax fund. Government is too big. We can find efficiencies. In the state of Iowa, we spend too much money. We overtax you. We've got to prioritize our infrastructure. Thank you.
Thank you. We're going to ask one more question, and